Hi everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way, and today's video is our exclusive set. So this is our 2016 exclusive set. This is only available in our classes. So those of you who have taken watercolor classes from us, you have received this set along with the class. It's not available for sale anywhere, not on our website nor anywhere. So it's only available with the class. So check out our website, see where we're going to be for the rest of the year if you are interested in this set. This is an awesome set, and I'm going to show you today how it goes together. So in addition to the set, this is actually what it looks like. This is the exclusive set. It comes with a number of items. These little images are all great. They're going to work perfectly with anything that you have already. And in addition to this, you do need to use some of the foliage and the flower set. So we're gonna pull some images from there to do this project. So the flower set, we're going to use the little filler flower right here. And in the foliage set, we're going to use the vine and the two grasses. So these three images we're going to use with this set. So here it is, our 2016 exclusive set. I love this set. If you can get in on this class, please do so. You are going to love it. It's a 2-hour class. It's packed full of information. We go at lightning speed, but I promise you, when you have finished the class, you will be a pro, and you're going to be able to do so many projects and be so much more confident. So again, check out our website, see where we're going to be, especially scrapbook expos. Most scrapbook expos, we're doing the class. So check that out. There's still time to sign up for those classes and get this awesome exclusive set. Only available this year and only available with a class. Okay, so here we go. And this is what we're going to duplicate, this little image right here. So we're going to start out with our watercolor paper, and we're going to ink the image. So I'm going to start out by inking this whole thing with the number 86. So I'm just going to color on this image, get everything colored with the number 86. There we go. We're going to stamp it in the center of our paper. There we go. And we're going to start out just like we always do by dipping our brush in water and pulling the color out of the lines. So let's do that. We're just going to follow these lines. You see the tops of these railing, you know, on the handles on the chair? That's where the lightest part is. Remember, the very top is where we're going to see that highlight. So we don't want to color all the way to the top of that. This in here would be really dark. See where this bunny is sitting on this chair? We can color all of this in really, really dark. The idea is to get more dimension. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to follow this line around. Just follow all these lines. And we can start pulling some of this color out of this little bunny. Same idea too with the bunny, because he's white. So the lightest part is going to be on the top. So we're just pulling a little color out on the bottom. That's where the shadow would be. So we want to keep that color concentrated to the bottom of the bunny. And you can bring some of this up to the top, but not too much. And you can see I'm constantly dipping my brush and pinching it off. So even if I have too much color, I'm still going to pinch it off and get some of that color off. Okay, so let's pull some of this color out now. Under here. And you can see where these lines are. This chair has some contour to it. So it's got some highs and lows. The very tops of the bend is going to be the lightest area. So we don't want to ink everything. See how this chair kind of goes up and down? We want to keep that color concentrated in the creases so that we get the idea of the contour of the chair. Okay, is this coming together? Let's do this little planter here. Pull this color out. You can bring this line all the way over. Give it some contour and a little interest. And then pull some of this color out to the outside. Remember how we do that? It's going to give us a little more dimension, a little bit more background. So we want to do that. Just drag some of this out to the outside. And it's looking pretty good. Okay, let's add some color to the chair now. And I'm just going to do that from my palette. So I'm going to take, this is a number 17 steel blue. And I'm just going to add a little different color here. You can do this with any color. Remember, start on the sides and drag it to the center. And see the very tops where the highlight would be? You can see how this chair has contour, so we want to keep those contoured areas, we want to keep those light. So keep the color concentrated on the side. You can bring some of the color down in here, down in here. And down here where the legs are. This one back in here, this would be really dark back in here. So we want to show that. Okay, we've got some more color on there. We can come back and add a little bit more later too, once this dries. So let's get the foliage in. So in this set, you have some foliages and some flowers. They all work great. So we're going to start out by putting the foliage in, and it's this broadleaf, this little broadleaf plant right here. This is the one we're going to use first. So we're going to put it on our block, ink this up, and we just need to stamp it a couple of times so that it's in the container. 1, 2, 3 is probably good. And then we're just going to brush this down. Try to keep these leaves separate. So don't just color this all in. Try to see where the leaves are, where these broadleaves are, and keep your keep the lines separate. And see how you can see where each leaf is in here? You don't want to just color this all in solid because then it becomes one-dimensional and it just looks flat, and we don't want flat at all. That's what we're trying to avoid. Okay, let's add some more foliage. So we're going to use the foliage from the foliage set, and that is this vine that we use over and over again. I think this is in almost every project that I do. So I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to add some of this just over the chair. I want this to look like the vine is growing up over. So we want to ink this several times, and maybe another one down in here. We could put one in the little planter, and then we're going to add water to it. So just like this. Don't worry if you don't get it in there perfect. That does not matter. It just somehow all comes together when you add the water. I just love how that works. And these things, these elements all work the same as the other ones that you have. So just like the other videos when we stamp everything on a repeat, these things also work the same way. So they're going to work in any project that you have. Okay, so we've got our little vines in here. We've got our little foliage into the planter. So let's add some flowers. And we're going to use the little block. And this is just the little filler flower. I'm going to put this on here. And I'm going to stamp it with the, this is the number 107. This is eggplant, so it's kind of a dusty purple. And I don't need very many again. So I'm just inking a few. If you can see this on the video, 1, 2, 3 is about as many as I really need to ink. And remember to go in a circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put some in over here. Maybe a little bit more in here. looks pretty good. Let's add some water to that and just blend. This is a really pretty purple. I love these simple palettes. I know that sometimes these images, you know, when I'm doing these videos, it doesn't look like I'm using very many colors, and that's because I'm not. I really like to keep things simple. I think if you overwork it and add too many colors, it's really hard to pick colors that work well together when you have too much going on. And these are such simple little paintings. I think less is more. Okay, so now I'm just blending this all in. And I just blend all this color together. Don't be afraid to do that. See, I've got some of this blue from the chair coming in here. I think that makes it work. Okay, so let's add the tulips. The tulips come in the set. So we've used this one, and now we can use this one. So let's add those to the block. And I'm going to use that same purple again. So I'm going to ink these blooms. Make sure you get enough ink on here. And then I'm going to ink the stems. I don't need to ink the entire thing because I don't need the stems to be that long. And I'm just going to stamp it in there a few times. And with these two, try to keep the lines separate. So you can see how this, let me show you on the image. You see these white lines that are in here? Let me hold this up a little. Try to keep those white lines in there. When you go to fill in this and pull the color out, try to keep these little boundaries open. That's going to add a lot of contour. So when you add the color, see how, try to just keep those white areas. Try to leave those in there rather than coloring everything in solid. You can see how that just adds a lot. You can come down a little bit on these stems, but you really don't have to do a lot. Let's pull down a little shadow here. There's a lot of pigment in this blue pen, so you can do a lot with that. Just keep pulling that color out. Okay, so let's keep going here. Let's add some grasses now. This is always the easiest thing to do, is to add the grass. So we're going to use the large grass first. And we're just going to stamp it several times. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And another one in here. That looks pretty good. So we're just going to pull this up. Remember, this is when you have a brush stroke, is when you're doing the grass. So we're just going to pull this color up. Just drag it up. And let's come back in with a little grass now. So we're just going to use this little one. And I always put these things up in the corner. It's easier for me to see. I feel like it's easier to control the block too. And let's just put in a little of this small grass underneath. And then we're just going to add the water. And underneath this chair, this is going to be a shadow under here. So we're going to take some of this blue, put it on the palette, and just put a little, just brush in a little patch for the shadow. That's going to add a lot to do that. Okay. And let's finish up here. We've got the little tiny flower. This is my favorite part out of this set. I just love this little guy. So we're going to ink him. Let's ink him in the blue. So we're going to ink the little blooms. And that's this one. Let me just show you that one, this little guy. So we're going to ink the blooms and we're going to ink the stem. And we're going to stamp it a few times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's do it again. So ink the blooms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a couple in the background. And you can leave these little white centers or you can color them in, up to you. But these don't take very much water at all. So keep your brush fairly dry and just touch it. I just love these little guys. They work so well. And let's get these guys in the background. Add a little water to the leaves here. Looking pretty good. Let's add some little brightness to this now. So let's add a little yellow. I'm usually not very good at adding yellow because that means I have to clean my stamp. So I'm going to have to clean it here real quick. But sometimes yellow just adds so much. So I'm going to do that. So I've got my stamp cleaned off. And this is the number 13, the yellow ochre. And again, I'm just inking a few. And I'm just going to put a little yellow in the background. Put some under here. And this sort of brightens everything up. Looking good. We've got a little highlight here. And we're just about finished with this little bunny picture. So cute. All of these elements come with a set, so it's valued at about $20. So well worth it. You're going to love using this. Okay. Looks like we're about finished here. Let's just add a little more blue onto the pot. You can always come back and add more color, especially in these areas that would be really, really dark. And remember how I said this little chair leg back here would be really dark? Let's go back in there and really make that dark, including all of this underneath the chair. Okay, there we go. We just need a signature, sign and date. Thanks so much for watching.